There's a hidden language spoken not with words, but with silence, suggestion, and control. The ones who master it don't ask for power. They shape it. You think your thoughts are your own? They're not. Someone planted them. Someone built the walls of your belief and gave you just enough freedom to feel like you chose them. That's dark influence. Not persuasion, not charm. Domination through suggestion. The kind of power that can't be traced. The kind that Machiavelli studied, perfected, and left behind for those ruthless enough to use it. This isn't about being liked. It's about being untouchable, not about convincing, but constructing a world where people obey you without ever realizing it. You want to be feared? Control decisions. You want to be respected? Control perception. But if you want to be dangerous, control reality. This video isn't self-help. It's a weapon. Learn it, wield it, and no one will ever see you coming. The most dangerous form of power doesn't look like power at all. It doesn't wear a crown. It doesn't sit on a throne. It whispers in the ear of the man who does. This is influence, and it's far more effective than authority. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He saw that raw force creates resistance. But influence creates obedience without force. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to issue threats. You simply bend perception and watch as people willingly walk in the direction you've already chosen for them. That's the beauty of dark influence. It hides behind the illusion of choice. Most people believe they make decisions rationally. They don't. They react to emotions, status cues, fears, and hidden desires. And the manipulator? He feeds those triggers one by one, until the target begs for what he's already planned to give them. Rule 1. Influence begins with observation. Before you control anyone, you must first read them. Not their words, their patterns. Ask yourself, what do they seek? What do they fear losing? Who do they try to impress? The manipulator doesn't waste time persuading the whole room. He studies the insecure, the ambitious, the eager to please, because those are the easiest strings to pull. The battlefield is emotional. You win by finding the cracks in their armor and widening them quietly. Rule 2. Speak to desire, not logic. Logical arguments rarely work. Why? Because people don't want to be right. They want to feel right. A skilled manipulator bypasses the brain and goes straight to the gut. He frames his ideas not as suggestions, but as opportunities to fulfill hidden cravings. Make them feel admired. Make them feel important. Make them feel part of something bigger than themselves. They'll follow you like zealots, and thank you for the privilege. Machiavelli said it clearly. Men are driven by two things, fear and desire. A dangerous manipulator uses both. Feed their hopes, exploit their terrors, and you'll control them more effectively than any king. Rule 3. Disappear your ego. The amateur manipulator wants recognition. He wants credit. He wants to be seen as the mastermind. But the real threat is the one who hides behind the curtain. The master manipulator never argues. He never demands validation. He's willing to let others believe they're in control because he knows they're not. You don't need applause. You need results. Your influence should feel like gravity. Silent, invisible, unavoidable. Rule 4. Turn every interaction into a test. Every conversation, every meeting, every glance, they're all data points. Every word a person says is a confession. Most people expose themselves constantly. Their body language, tone, urgency, nervous laughter. It all reveals what they're trying to hide. Train yourself to see what others miss. Does their voice change when a certain person speaks? Do they interrupt when threatened? Do they shrink in the presence of power? Use these micro-signals to build a profile. Once you know how someone sees the world, you can reshape it, and they'll never realize they've been rewired. Rule 5. Always think 2 moves ahead. Influence is not about the moment. It's about the ripple. Every word you say should be a calculated seed, planted in soil you've already tested. Don't just think about how they'll respond today. Think about how they'll feel about it tomorrow, next week, when others reinforce the idea. This is the art of long-game manipulation. You don't just control a single choice. You construct a narrative, one that ends with them serving your interests, while thinking it was all their idea. Final thought. Influence is the power you never see. You can take a man's body with violence. You can take his loyalty with gold. But if you take his mind, you own him completely. Machiavelli didn't preach morality. He preached results. And the manipulator who masters dark influence will never have to ask for power. He'll be given it, because everyone around him will believe he deserves it. And when that day comes, you won't need to rule. You'll already be ruling. A dangerous manipulator is never seen for what he truly is. The moment your target knows what you want, the game is over. They prepare. They defend. They resist. And now you're fighting uphill. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew that true power isn't shown. It's hidden. A visible agenda invites opposition, but a hidden one moves unchallenged. No one defends themselves against a danger they don't see coming. This is why the smartest manipulators cloak their desires in layers of false intentions. They act passive when they're scheming, act loyal when they're disloyal, and act foolish when they're planning something precise. Their genius is in the performance, and most people, blind, arrogant, and desperate to believe appearances, fall for it every time. You don't need to scream for power when everyone thinks you're harmless. They hand it to you. They lower their defenses. They tell you things they wouldn't even say to their allies. Because they don't believe you're playing the game. But you are. Quietly. Ruthlessly. The illusion is everything. If you want influence, you must become a master of masks. Speak with calmness, move with patience, and let others think they know your weaknesses. Let them believe they've figured you out. Feed them just enough truth to make the lie convincing. Disarm them with vulnerability. Pretend to doubt yourself. Pretend to hesitate. Pretend to be confused. And then, when it matters, strike without hesitation. Misdirection is your shield. While others are watching your left hand, your right is building the empire. Let them focus on your distractions while your real plan unfolds where no one is looking. Don't just hide your motives. Replace them. Create false goals. Pretend to be chasing something insignificant while the real prize moves quietly toward your grip. No one guards the thing they think you don't care about. Emotion is another useful disguise. People are more trusting when they believe you're feeling something. If you seem overwhelmed, impulsive, or naive. They'll never see the precision behind your actions. They'll assume your decisions are reactive, not calculated. That assumption gives you full control. Even your moments of failure can be tools. Losing on purpose, hesitating, making small mistakes. They create the illusion of imperfection. And imperfection is comforting to those who fear being outmatched. You lull them into complacency. Then when they finally look away, you own the board. Let others talk. Let them explain, justify, accuse, confess. Stay silent, and they will do all the work for you. Silence creates unease, and unease makes people reveal themselves. They fear empty space. They rush to fill it with emotion, over-explanation, weakness. That's when they expose everything you need to control them. You never push. You never force. You just allow. Allow their assumptions to form. Allow their trust to grow. Allow their guard to lower. Until they no longer question you. Until you're not just seen as trustworthy. You're seen as incapable of manipulation. At that point, you've won. Not because you overpowered them, but because they never thought they had to defend themselves in the first place. They were never at war. But you were. Quietly. From the start. When it's time to act, don't announce it. Don't negotiate. Don't explain. Just move. Let them discover what you've done after it's too late to stop it. Let the trap close, and look surprised with them. That is the perfection of manipulation. Not just hidden strength, but unexpected force. Not just deception, but invisible design. People only fear what they can see. So stay invisible, stay unspoken, stay unreadable. And when the moment is right, make them regret ever underestimating you. If you control the story, you control the mind. And the one who controls minds never needs to lift a weapon. Power doesn't begin with action. It begins with perception. What people believe shapes how they move, how they feel, how they fight, and most importantly, who they obey. That's why the most dangerous manipulators don't argue, beg, or debate. They edit reality. They filter what others hear. They distort what others see. And slowly, thought by thought, they create a world where their control feels natural, even justified. Machiavelli understood this principle better than anyone. He knew that people don't want the truth. They want a version of truth that protects their ego, confirms their fears, or flatters their hopes. So give them that. Feed them illusions laced with just enough truth to feel real. The manipulator doesn't need facts. He needs certainty. He becomes the loudest voice, the first whisper, the most repeated phrase in the room. And once he owns that space, people start parroting his words as their own. They start defending his lies as if they were sacred. It doesn't matter how smart they are. If you control the inputs, you control the outcome. You don't have to tell people what to think. You just have to control what they're exposed to. Information is a battlefield, and most people are too lazy to verify what they've been told. They accept the first version they hear and cling to it, even if it's flawed. That's where your power begins. Being the first to define the narrative. You become the origin, the source, the authority. And once they associate you with clarity, with explanation, with certainty, they no longer question you. That is influence at its purest. But don't stop there. Control not just what they hear, but how they feel about it. Associate your enemies with discomfort, chaos, dishonor. Associate yourself with calm, order, protection. Reputation is a currency. Your words carry weight not because they're true, but because people believe you have the right to say them. Reputation can be engineered. Build it piece by piece, interaction by interaction, until your word becomes law in their mind. Once that happens, you no longer need to convince. You only need to imply. A glance becomes a command. A silence becomes a warning. A single word becomes a weapon. You won't even have to finish your sentences anymore. They'll complete them for you. Exactly how you wanted. This is the game of invisible power. It doesn't operate on facts, but on frameworks. You install belief systems. You shape the lens through which they see the world. And once their vision belongs to you, they will serve you willingly. Most people never realize they're being influenced. They think they're thinking independently. But their language, values, fears, and even resistance were carefully planted. Your goal is not to force them to obey. It's to make them need you, to shape their environment in such a way that stepping away from your influence feels like chaos. They will cling to you, not because they are weak, but because they believe you are the only anchor in a storm. That's when your control becomes permanent. You no longer need to manipulate them actively. You've programmed them to do it to themselves. They regulate their own thoughts to remain loyal to the framework you've created. They become your enforcers. They correct others on your behalf. They justify your behavior. They protect your lies. You become an idea, not just a person. An idea they don't want to live without. That's the final stage of influence. You're no longer persuading individuals. You're commanding systems of belief. And once you control those, you control everything. The greatest manipulators never fight their own battles. They don't waste time clashing with enemies directly. They use others, loyal, unaware, and disposable, as weapons. You see, real influence is not measured by how many people obey you, but by how many people carry out your will thinking it was their own. That's the brilliance of dark influence. You remain in the shadows, untouched, while your enemies are destroyed by people who don't even know they're working for you. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He didn't just advise rulers to be cunning. He showed them how to rule through proxies. Because when your hands are clean, your power is untraceable. You're not the threat. You're not even in the picture. But your influence is in every move, every word, every betrayal. This is how you multiply yourself without risk. You don't just control people. You install your thinking into them. Then you stand back and let them act on it. Every ambitious man wants a cause. Every desperate woman wants purpose. Every insecure mind wants validation. And you, if you are ruthless enough, will become the provider of those things. You don't beg people to serve you. You craft their needs in such a way that serving you feels like fulfilling their own destiny. Give them enemies. Create conflict. Feed them lines that justify aggression in your favor. Make them believe they are standing up for themselves, for justice, for loyalty, when in truth, they're just pawns spilling blood for your quiet benefit. And when the blade falls, when your rival is humiliated or destroyed, you won't be anywhere near the scene. You'll be the one they run to, crying about the chaos. You'll be the one pretending to offer peace. You'll be the savior, while being the very architect of their downfall. This is the kind of manipulation that builds empires, not with force, but with orchestration. Most people crave leadership, but they hate being used. So you never let them see it. You flatter them. You make them feel chosen. You present them with decisions, each one carefully framed, so that every outcome still serves you. They think they're rebels. They think they're visionaries. They think they're heroes. But you know the truth. They are weapons. And weapons don't question the hand that wields them. You can even turn your enemies into tools. People who oppose you often do more to spread your name than your allies. Use their anger. Let them obsess over you. Let them expose themselves while thinking they're exposing you. Their hate becomes free advertising for your legend. Everything they do to attack you only strengthens your influence. That is true dominance. And when the pieces begin to fall apart, when alliances fracture and pawns burn out, you simply detach. You vanish from the story. Let them fight over the wreckage. You've already moved on, setting up the next game, the next tool, the next war they'll fight on your behalf. A true manipulator isn't addicted to attention. He thrives on leverage. He speaks rarely, acts sparingly, and watches others scramble to interpret what it means. He never explains. He never defends. He never reveals how deep his control goes. Because the best manipulation doesn't feel like manipulation at all. It feels like destiny, like freedom, like truth. You don't control people by force. You control them by making them feel powerful, while they act as your servant. And when they finally see what you've done, if they ever do, it's already too late. Their loyalty has turned to dependence. Their independence has been rewired into obedience. And you, the invisible hand behind it all, remain untouched, undisputed, and unknown. Manipulation is not an art of feeling. It is an art of control. And control demands detachment. The moment you allow emotion to influence your decisions, the game slips from your hands. You become reactive, predictable, weak. The true manipulator, the dangerous one, is emotionally silent. Not because he lacks feeling, but because he no longer allows it to matter. Machiavelli knew this. He didn't believe in sentimental leadership. He believed in results. A ruler who acts on pity will be devoured by those who don't. A man who hesitates because of love, friendship, guilt, or fear is already enslaved by others' influence. So you must kill the instinct to please, abandon the need to be understood, crush the urge to justify your actions, because every time you explain yourself, you give others power over your narrative. Let them misunderstand you. Let them judge you. Their feelings are irrelevant. What matters is what happens, and whether it serves your purpose. This is where most manipulators fall apart. They grow attached to their pawns. They grow sympathetic toward the weak. They forget that the very people they empowered will one day resent that power and try to escape it. Don't let your kindness become a chain around your neck. You're not here to be liked. You're here to shape outcomes. And that requires operating from a place of brutal clarity. No emotion, no loyalty, no distraction. Just the cold assessment of what works and what must be removed. This includes people. You may elevate someone, train them, make them powerful. But the moment they become a liability, you must cut them loose, without hesitation, without guilt. Sentimentality has no place in strategy. The longer you delay a necessary betrayal, the more damage they do, and the more it costs you to fix it. You must become the kind of person who is respected for what you withhold. Your silence should be a threat. Your absence should provoke fear. And your presence, when it arrives, should feel like a judgment, not a comfort. To reach this level of influence, you need discipline. You need to retrain your instincts. The manipulator doesn't react emotionally to betrayal, to praise, or to threats. He calculates. When someone attacks you, you don't lash out. You let them expose their full intent. You let them overextend. Then, when they are vulnerable, you destroy them entirely, not for revenge, but for example. Because manipulation isn't just about control. It's about reputation. And the most powerful reputation you can create is one of quiet, merciless efficiency. They must know you are not to be played with. You are not to be provoked. And once you decide to act, there will be no second chances. This aura doesn't come from violence. It comes from restraint, from watching others beg for mercy while you don't even flinch. Emotional distance is your final weapon. It allows you to be the calm in the storm, the still hand in the chaos, the one who moves last and always wins. Most people are ruled by their impulses. They argue, cry, panic, chase. They think emotion gives them strength. But you know better. Emotion is a leash, and once you've cut it, you're free. Now you can play the long game. Now you can move people without being moved by them. Now you can sacrifice anything, anyone, without looking back. This is how kings are made in the shadows, not through popularity, but through precision, not through kindness, but through clarity. The manipulator who erases emotion becomes something else entirely. Not just influential, not just feared, but untouchable. By now, you understand. Influence isn't about being the loudest voice. It's about being the voice that echoes in others' heads long after you've gone silent. You've learned to manipulate not through force, but through framing. Not through begging, but through design. Not through exposure, but through absence. You've seen how to plant ideas without leaving fingerprints, weaponize others while staying untouched, control perception and reality by managing information, cloak your ambition behind masks of innocence and weakness, and above all, operate without emotion, because emotion is a chain, and you were born to be the one holding the leash. This is no longer just manipulation. This is architecture. You're not responding to the world anymore. You're constructing it. The ones around you will feel like they're making their own choices, but every road leads to you. They'll trust you.